Many people say there isn't a single anime that deserves universal praise. Well, those people clearly need to watch One Piece. Or maybe read One Piece because the manga is better than the anime. Whether you've never seen it or you've been enjoying the series so long that you need a refresher and a god to come down and give you a second life, I've made this One Piece timeline for you. I'll follow the series from chapter 1 until the time skip. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. At least 1,000 years ago, a great kingdom was founded. This kingdom had the most advanced technology in the world. They reigned supreme for quite some time. Year 600-700, the great kingdom's domain has grown to span the entire globe. In this time, they also crafted 3 almighty weapons: Pluton, Poseidon, and I'm gonna go with the Japanese pronunciation here because we don't want to get demonetized, Uranus. The weapons are remembered collectively as the Ancient Weapons. 20 kingdoms form an alliance to overthrow the Great Kingdom. Defeated, the Great Kingdom disappears, leaving behind indestructible missives known as poneglyphs. They're pretty much like the Rosetta Stone. Year 700 to 800, those 20 kingdoms unite to form the world government, filling the power vacuum left by the Great Kingdom's defeat. The leaders of those kingdoms migrate their residence to the top of the ginormous Red Line, founding Marie-Joie and an elite group of people known as Celestial Dragons. The newly founded world government rules their land with an authoritarian cruelty and suppresses information about what occurred before their ascendance. The century they usurped power from the Great Kingdom is scrubbed from the records. Later, scholars named that era the Void Century. Year 1120, Mont Blanc Nolan departs the Kingdom of Lunel to explore the globe. Year 1122, Mont Blanc Nolan finds the island of Jaya and befriends its inhabitants, the Shandorians. Impressively, their city is entirely made of gold. After spending some time on Jaya, Nolan returns home to inform the King of Lunel about this magnificent locale. However, Nolan's king refuses to believe him. Year 1126. The Shandorian City of Gold is permanently launched into the air by a powerful geyser called the Knockup Stream. While there, it's eventually renamed the Upper Yard. Year 1127. Nolan finally convinces the King of Lunel to travel to Shandora, the City of Gold. 2 ships perish in a storm while en route to Shandora. When they arrive, Shandora and its people have vanished. Nolan is labeled a criminal for seemingly misleading the kingdom. Year 1128. Nolan is executed as punishment for his lies. His legacy forever stains the Mont Blanc name. Year 1422. 2 giants, Dory and Bragi, begin their perennial duel on Little Garden. Year 1472, an incredibly important event that I am in no way inflating occurs. A baby whale named Laboon is left behind at the entrance to the Grand Line waiting for his pirate crew to return. Year 1474, unbeknownst to Laboon, his entire crew, save for the musician Brooke, perishes on the Grand Line. Year 1496 to 1499, the Roger Pirates, led by Gol D. Roger, embark on their final voyage. Roger is joined by incredible pirates like Buggy the Clown, Shanks, Silvers Rayleigh, Scupper Gabon, Crocus, Douglas Bullet, non-canonically but in Stampede, and many, many more. The crew is able to travel across the entire Grand Line, even uncovering the One Piece, a fabulous treasure of immeasurable value. Roger and his crew conclude their adventure on Raftel. While there, Roger learns what occurred in the Void Century along with some other juicy secrets. Roger disbands his crew and turns himself into the world government shortly after. Year 1500. Moments before his execution, Roger calls for other pirates to seek out the One Piece. So begins the Great Age of Pirates. The world government begins their attempts to snuff out all remnants of the Roger Pirates. Port Gas de Rouge is chased by the Marines for housing Roger's child, Port Gas de Ace, in her womb. She'll eventually hold the child for a total of 20 months, much more than your standard 9-month birth cycle. On Water 7, the shipwright Tom is being prosecuted for building Roger's ship, the Oro Jackson. Elsewhere, the master stiltsman, Tonji, begins his quest to craft the world's highest stilts. Clearly, this is the era of dreams. Year 1502, the island of O'Hara is slaughtered by the world government after a small group of scholars attempted to translate the poneglyphs. The only survivor is an 8-year-old named Nico Robin. She narrowly escapes the onslaught with the help of a marine named Kuzan. Year 1504. While in conflict with pirates, the marine officer Belmer finds 2 orphans, Nami and Nojiko. She adopts the pair as her own daughters. They move to Kokoyashi village located in the East Blue. Year 1511. Roger's apprentice, red-haired Shanks, arrives in the quaint windmill village. He encounters young Luffy. He takes a shine to the scrappy kid. Year 1512. Shanks continues to admire Luffy. He doesn't even get that pissed when Luffy eats one of his valuable devil fruits. The Gomu Gomu no Mi, or Gum Gum fruit, turns Luffy's body into rubber. And although that doesn't sound very cool, just you wait, my friend. Having eaten the fruit, Luffy loses his ability to swim. But that doesn't stop him from chasing his pirate dreams. Shanks departs Windmill Village, entrusting Luffy with his iconic straw hat. Luffy swears to become the king of pirates, but first, he's gotta meet his brothers. Luffy's grandfather, Monkey D. Garp, is a vice admiral in the Marines. In other words, he's the fuzz. Nevertheless, he sends Luffy off to be raised by the mountain bandit Dadan. While there, he bonds with Port Gastiace and Sabo. The trio shares cups of sake, declaring that they're all brothers. Shortly after the exchange, they make a plan to explore the ocean together. Sabo sets sail earlier than planned. Unfortunately, his pirating exploits are cut short after a celestial dragon shoots down his ship. The reason? Sabo accidentally got in his way, ever so slightly inconveniencing the royal. Luckily, the young lad is saved by Luffy's absentee father, Revolutionary Army leader Monkey the Dragon. Year 1511. A young man named Sanji begins working as an apprentice cook on a ship called the Orbit. Year 1513. The Orbit is raided by a pirate named Zeph, but his raid goes awry. Zeph and Sanji are shipwrecked on a deserted island for 85 days. Both starving, Zeph eventually eats his own leg. This is recorded in the Oscar-winning film 127 Hours. After they're rescued, Zeph opens up the restaurant Baratier on a giant sailing ship, with Sanji as his sous chef. Meanwhile, Sanji's beloved Zoro makes a promise with his childhood friend Kuina to become the world's greatest swordsman. Kuina dies from falling down a long flight of stairs shortly after this vow. Little did she know, Oda would later create characters that could withstand point-blank explosions. How times have changed. Year 1514. The Fishman Arlong begins his conquest of the human race, his first stop being Kokoyashi Village. Unwilling to pledge her fealty, Arlong murders Belle-Mare. Unsure how else to survive this ordeal, Nami agrees to give Arlong money in exchange for her village's freedom. Year 1516. Dr. Hero-Luck meets a remarkable young reindeer named Tony Chopper. He stands out from his reindeer peers thanks to his distinct blue nose and ability to speak English. The good doctor hires Chopper as his apprentice. NL leads a coup d'etat against Skypia's leader, Gan Fall. Year 1517. Ussop invites some neighborhood toddlers to found a pirate crew, captained by Ussop, of course. It's called the Ussop Pirates. On the Grand Line, certain CP9 members begin their undercover mission on Water 7 with the intent to obtain blueprints for the ancient weapon Pluton. Year 1518. Nico Robin joins the organization Baroque Works as number 2 to its leader, Crocodile. After being given the blueprints for Pluton by his friend Iceberg, the shipwright formerly known as Cuddy Flam assumes the super name of Frankie. Year 1519. Ace, now age 17 and a fully grown man, free to do man things, departs his home with Luffy to officially become a pirate. Year 1520. Ace is shipwrecked on an island, meets a man who goes by the name Masked Deuce. Lost and starving, the two share a mysterious red-orange fruit found by Ace. Whoops! That was a devil fruit called the Mera Mera no Mi, or Flame fruit. Ace, who bit the fruit first, now holds the power to turn into flames, while the second biter, Masked Deuce, simply got a very gross meal. Shortly after the Mera Mera no meal, the pair found the Spade Pirates. Ace and the Spade Pirates continue their journey, intending to travel through to the New World, and claim notoriety by defeating all 4 Yonko, aka the 4 Emperors, with their particular sights set on Whitebeard. While in the New World, Ace, curious about Luffy's fervent admiration for Shanks, sets out to meet the red-haired pirate. Shanks accepts him with open arms, and the two bond over their love for Luffy. As he continues his travels, Ace is confronted by the fishman Jinbe, who has heard about Ace's objective and simply won't have it. Ace and Jinbe clash for 5 days until they both eventually collapse from exhaustion. Just as the duel comes to an end, Whitebeard arrives on the scene with his crew. He offers Ace an opportunity to take his head. Ace and Spade Pirates versus Whitebeard all alone. The grizzled pirate legend single-handedly defeats Ace. As a consolation prize, Whitebeard offers Ace a spot on the crew. He initially rejects the offer, but Whitebeard persuades Ace to come along, keeping him on his main ship, the Moby Dick. After attempting to assassinate Whitebeard another 100 times with little success, Ace gives up his pursuit of Whitebeard's head and officially joins the crew, eventually heading their second division. The remaining Spade Pirates are absorbed into the Whitebeard Pirates, making one big happy pirate family. Year 1522. And this is the last new date in our timeline for a long time, because everything that comes between now and the time skip takes place in this year. Okay, so let's start. Okay. The Whitebeard pirates aren't doing so hot. Their 4th Division commander, Thatch, is slain by his subordinate Blackbeard after finding the Yami Yami no Mi, or dark fruit. Blackbeard leaves the crew with the fruit in tow, intending to finally put his plans for world domination into motion. Ace sets out to find him and avenge his comrade. Elsewhere, Luffy has come of age, evolving from a man to a seaman. He boards his mighty ship and sets out to sea. Early in One Piece, there were a few differences between the anime and manga. In the anime, Luffy is an accidental stowaway on a luxury ship named the Lady Mary. The Alvida pirates attack the ship. Cat burglar Nami is on board too, on the hunt for treasure. However, it's implied that Buggy, the godly clown, has recently raided the ship, so it's already been cleared out. Luffy befriends a young deckhand named Kobe just as the Alvida pirates attack begins. We get to see Luffy's gum powers on display for the first time as he smacks around Alvida and makes his escape. Luffy requests a small boat from Alvida's remaining crewmen. Luffy then tells Nami he's seeking a navigator for his pirate crew, but Nami takes one look at Luffy's barrel and says, no thank you. Luffy decides to go off in search of Roronoa Zoro, a pirate hunter he learned about on Alvida's ship. Alternatively, in the original manga and amended episode of Luffy, Nami wasn't present for any of those events, and the Lady Mary didn't even exist. Luffy's barrel landed on Goat Island, the Alvida Pirates HQ. Either way, the events lead to Kobe and Luffy searching for Zoro. Their quest takes them to Shell's town on Yotsuba Island. The famous swordsman has been caught and crucified by the Marines. His crime? Defending a young girl and her mother. Luffy disagrees with their verdict, so he frees Zoro and retrieves the swordsman's iconic 3 swords. The local tyrant and marine captain, Axe-Hand Morgan, isn't too happy that Luffy freed their prisoner, so he attacks Luffy and Zoro. Using his 3-sword style, Zoro swiftly defeats the captain. Morgan is later stripped of his title for abusing his power. Glad to be free, Zoro agrees to be the first member of Luffy's crew. Kobe joins Morgan's son Helmeppo to stay behind as the Marine's newest chore boys. Although it was brief, Kobe will always cherish his friendship with Luffy. Before long, Luffy encounters one of the most fearsome pirates in the One Piece universe, Buggy. Nami's back, and she's managed to steal Buggy's map of the Grand Line, the main route for all ships that spans the globe's 4 oceans, the North Blue, the East Blue, the West Blue, and the South Blue. After some attempted double-crossing and triple-crossing, Buggy and his crew capture Luffy, Nami, and Zoro. Luffy and Buggy face off in our first devil fruit on devil fruit battle of the series. Buggy's chop fruit allows him to slice up his body and send his appendages off to do his bidding. After Buggy messes up Luffy's beloved straw hat, Luffy gets real mad and takes Buggy out. Can you blame him? I mean, started. In a brief detour, Luffy and Nami explore Animal Island, finding the lonesome, treasure chest-bound Gaimon. He's been stranded on the island for the last 2 decades. Luffy offers him an out, but Gaimon refuses, preferring the animal friends he's made on the island. Same, Gaimon. Same. It's not long before Luffy encounters yet another pirate, a long-nosed dude named Ussop in Syrup Village. Shout out to Ussop. I want to believe I'm more of a Brook character, but I know that on a deep level, I'm truly an Ussop. Luffy and the crew learn about Usopp's touching backstory. He uses his natural talent for lying to tell entertaining stories to an ill-rich girl named Kaya. Luffy also learns that Usopp's father is none other than Yasopp, one of Shanks' crew members. While on the island, Luffy helps Usopp foil an assassination attempt on Kaya by her butler, Cladador. He's secretly the pirate Black Cat Kuro and after Kaya's fortune. After a prolonged battle, Luffy and his gang end up saving the whole village. As a thank you, Kaya gives them a pirate ship, the Merry-Go. It warms my heart just to speak Mary's name. Usopp agrees to join the rest of the crew on their voyage despite not being the captain. On the sparkling waters of the East Blue, the crew encounters the Baratier restaurant. Baratier is home to Sanji, a hot-headed cook who clashes with the Marines. Luffy steps in to help when Don Krieg and his pirating pals begin attacking the sea-bound restaurant. While the Straw Hats are distracted by the battle, the cat burglar Nami lives up to her name when she makes off with the Merry-Go. Still aboard Baratier, Zoro encounters Mihawk, the greatest swordsman in the world, and one of the Shichibukai, or the 7 warlords of the sea. 7 powerful Marine-sanctioned pirates used to take on difficult pirates. Zoro has easily conquered the East Blue, so how difficult could it be to defeat the world's greatest swordsman? Turns out, it's very difficult. Zoro gets cut up pretty quick, but his innate talent and honor earns Mihawk's respect. After fending off the pirate attack on Baratier, Luffy asks Sanji to join his crew as the cook. Sanji hesitates. Baratier is his home, and the head chef Zeph is the closest thing he's had to a father. But Zeph is a former pirate himself and encourages Sanji to see the world. So Luffy, Sanji, Zoro, and Usopp set out to find Nami because she's still got the Mary. True to her character thus far, Nami pulls off her final betrayal, revealing she's been a member of the Arlong Pirates, led by the Fishman Arlong this whole time. Fishmen are fish men The species has been historically oppressed by humans. No wonder they're pirates. The Arlong pirates capture Zoro and Ussop. Nami's true allegiances are still cloudy, but she frees Zoro and tells him to escape. With their powers combined, the Straw Hats take out Arlong and the rest of his pirates, including the kind-hearted Octo Fishman Hachi. Despite her numerous betrayals, Luffy invites Nami to officially join the crew. Up until now, she's been more of a consultant. She agrees, and the Straw Hat crew grows to 5. Kicking all that pirate tail has gotten Luffy noticed. The Marines place a 30 million berry bounty on his head. It's cause for celebration because it means Luffy's a full-blown pirate. And he's got the highest bounty in the East Blue. After being defeated by Luffy, Buggy is marooned on the island of rare animals where he meets Gaimon, who assists him in returning to the sea. However, his makeshift sea craft is destroyed by a giant crab. This could have been the end for Buggy, but he's saved by his crew and Luffy's former foe, Alvida. The two new friends begin plotting their revenge on Luffy. Concurrently, Luffy's pals, Kobe and Helmeppo, are assigned to escort Morgan to permanent custody. He was apparently arrested after being defeated by Luffy, presumably for misusing his power. Morgan eventually escapes, but Kobe and Helmeppo's actions catch the eye of Luffy's grandfather, Garp. The two are reassigned to Marine HQ as Garp's personal apprentices. The Straw Hats continue their journey to the entrance of the Grand Line. It's a treacherous voyage that separates real pirates from mere hobbyists. The Grand Line is full of dangerous monsters, pirates, and mysterious islands. It's also the route to the other 3 oceans of the world, not to mention the One Piece. The crew makes a stop in Goldie Roger's hometown at the entrance of the Grand Line. On the journey, Zoro gets 2 new swords, Yubashiri and Sandai Kitetsu. Alvida and Buggy appear once again, this time attempting to publicly execute Luffy. It's close, but he's saved by a seemingly random lightning bolt. The island is also home to a few Marines, Marine Captain Smoker and his Lieutenant Tashigi. They'll continue to chase the Straw Hats in their journeys. The Straw Hats escape in the chaos, but Smoker is hot on their trail. Smoker goes up against Luffy one-on-one, but just as it looks like Luffy's defeat is imminent, his absentee father, Dragon, steps in to save him. The crew once again evades the Marines and continues their journey to the Grand Line. After facing some formidable Sea Kings in the Calm Belt, they make it to the Grand Line only to be swallowed by Laboon. Yeah, Laboon! That baby whale I mentioned in the beginning. Remember, I told you it was important. The Straw Hats meet some people inside Laboon, like Crocus, the whale's caretaker, and 2 shifty characters, Ms. Wednesday and Mr. Nine, who are attempting to kill Laboon. Laboon has been waiting for his crew's return for 50 years, and he's been wreaking havoc on ships entering the Grand Line for most of that time. His head is badly scarred from trying to destroy Reverse Mountain, a giant rock wall that separates the Grand Line from the East Blue. Understanding that the whale is lonely, Luffy paints the Straw Hat's Jolly Roger on his face, making him an unofficial member of the crew. Luffy promises to return again, and Laboon allows the crew to pass. Laboon's caretaker Crocus also imparts some valuable information. Tools called log poses are used to navigate the Grand Line. They're like compasses that are drawn to the magnetic atmosphere of a single nearby island at a time. There are also eternal poses, which are constantly drawn to the same island all the time. After getting trounced by the Straw Hats, Miss Wednesday and Mr. Nine make a humble request to be brought back to Whiskey Peak. Out of kindness, the Straw Hats agree. Upon arriving, it seems the inhabitants would like to throw them a party, but the party is cut short when it's revealed that the supposed civilians are villains, agents of the criminal organization Baroque Works. This includes the mysterious figures Luffy met inside Laboon. It turns out that Miss Wednesday is Vivi, the Princess of Alabasta. She joined Baroque Works to uncover a conspiracy that's been plaguing Alabasta. With Vivi's mission compromised, her retainer, Igaram, requests that the Straw Hats assist her in returning to her homeland. They accept this quest. Meanwhile, Blackbeard is still on the run from Ace. He pillages the winter island of Drum Kingdom, prompting its then monarch, Wapol, to flee. Following the pillage of Drum Island, Ace arrives on the island. Alas, he's just missed his target and the hunt continues. The Straw Hats arrive on Little Garden, an island firmly stuck in the past. While there, they meet Dory. Dory! And Brogy, 2 giants stuck in a duel since 1422. They're pursued by 6 Baroque Work agents, Mr. 3, Miss Golden Week, Mr. 5, Miss Valentine, Mr. 13, and Miss Friday. The Straw Hats easily defeat these foes and obtain an eternal pose that points to Alabasta, so it's now a straight shot to their destination. After they depart, Nami appears ill, so they make a pit stop to a nearby island, hoping to find a doctor. They land on Drum Island, where the Straw Hats meet the littlest reindeer and doctor, Tony Chopper. He lives at the peak of Drum Island's mountain with the elderly Dr. Kureha. The island is ruled by Wapol, who has returned to reclaim his island. However, Luffy is able to ward him off with a few well-timed punches. Now the Straw Hats finally head to their true destination, Alabasta. Smoker and Tashigi are waiting to arrest them there. Luckily, Luffy's brother Ace is also on the scene. As a seasoned pirate, Ace wards off the Marines with ease. Before continuing his hunt for Blackbeard, Ace gives Luffy his Vivre card, a small piece of paper eternally connected to a person's life. It can be used to locate a person or read their remaining life force. As the Straw Hats make their way through Alabasta, the country's political confusion has come to a head. Baroque Works leader and another of the 7 warlords of the sea, Crocodile, is beginning to execute his plan to obtain the throne and the ancient weapon Pluton. Alabasta rebels, who mistakenly believe their leader Cobra is responsible for the drought that's plaguing their kingdom, begin their attack on the capital. Of course, it's all Crocodile's doing. Luffy attempts to take Crocodile down, but he's easily defeated by Crocodile's sandy abilities, which allow Croc to avoid any attack.
I don't like sand.
Quick aside, but even after watching Luffy fight tons of wacky, super overpowered villains, this fight still holds up. Croc is just a great villain. And what can I say? As the Straw Hats and Vivi attempt to put a halt to the Civil War, they're scattered across Alabasta. Luffy follows Crocodile to a final confrontation beneath the capital, which houses a poneglyph containing information on the ancient weapon Pluton. Of course, it can only be read by Crocodile's partner, the scholar Nico Robin. In their final encounter, Luffy realizes there's one thing that can overpower sand: lots of water. Luffy defeats Crocodile, saving the kingdom and gaining tons of royal goodwill. So much royal goodwill that a lot of One Piece fans ship Luffy and Vivi hard. Wanting to spend more time with his new pal, Luffy offers Vivi a spot on his crew. She turns him down because she feels a duty to stay and help rule the kingdom. Her time with the Straw Hats isn't forgotten, as they have a heartfelt goodbye, complete with X's on wrists as a symbol of their friendship. The Straw Hats did pick up one precious gem from Alabasta, scholar and poneglyph reader Nico Robin. She stowed away on their ship before they left harbor. After making her presence known and convincing the Straw Hats that she's trustworthy, she joins the crew. Elsewhere, Hachi, the Octo Fishman from Arlong's crew, escapes Marine custody. Hachi goes on a brief undersea adventure where he encounters a mermaid named Kami. Pear opens up a takoyaki stand in the ocean. This is a PSA to support any and all villains turned small business owners. Follow your dream. Elsewhere, Blackbeard sends his subordinate, Lafitte, to the latest 7 warlords meeting to nominate Blackbeard as the next member of their ranks. A spot has opened up following Crocodile's very public downfall. At the same time, Shanks sends Whitebeard a message via his subordinate, Rockstar, attempting to warn the 4 emperors about Blackbeard, but he refuses to listen. Back with the Straw Hats, their adventure is interrupted by the Saint Brice, a ship that falls onto them from the sky. Curious about this strange phenomenon, the Straw Hats head towards the nearby island of Jaya for information. While there, Luffy unknowingly meets Ace's target, Blackbeard. It turns out the two of them have a lot in common. The Straw Hats later learn about the only way to reach Sky Islands, the Knockup Stream. Mary gets a makeover, complete with wings and a rooster comb? We get to watch Mary take to the sky on the geyser and reach the Sky Island Skypiea. While there, the Straw Hats involve themselves with yet another civil war, of course. This time it's between Skypiea's current king, Enel, who represents Skypieans, and the Shandorians. Enel invites the crew to fight him head-on in Upper Yard. They accept this challenge. In the Upper Yard, they eventually locate the lost Shandorian city. Much of the gold has been repurposed to build Enel's skybound ship, the Ark Maxim. Luffy is able to defeat Enel and reclaim the Shandorian homeland. While there, Robin stumbles onto a poneglyph in the Golden City. It references the ancient weapon of Poseidon as well as a special poneglyph. It's said that this poneglyph holds the true history, including an accurate record of what occurred during the Void Century. Where this great poneglyph resides is anyone's guess, but many say it could be right next to the One Piece on Raftel. After Enel's defeat, the Civil War comes to a close and the Skypieans begin palling around with the Shandorians. Gon Fall is reinstated as Skypiea's god or king. The Straw Hats leave the Sky Island flush with the gold they found in Shandora, but they need to exchange it for proper currency. Nevertheless, they continue on their journey. Along the way, they run into a pirate named Foxy, who challenges the crew to an ancient pirate ritual known as a Davy Back fight. Of course, they win without too much trouble, but the anime expands this into about a year's worth of content, primarily consisting of reaction shots. Fun, right? More importantly, they meet Tonji, who has been on stilts for the last 20 years, and he finally comes down. At the last moment, they meet one of the Marines' 3 admirals, Aokiji. He attacks the crew, swiftly defeating them. However, he decides not to take the Straw Hats in as gratitude for defeating Crocodile in Alabasta. Karma. Before leaving, Aokiji gives Nico Robin an ominous message, asking if she'll stay with the crew. Following the brief bout with Aokiji, the Straw Hats head to Water 7 to spend their newly obtained money repairing the merry-go. Despite their abundance of cash, nobody will take the job. Mary took a lot of damage in the whole flying to Skypiea and then being involved in a naval battle thing, and no one can repair her. Even the venerated Galila shipwrights can't do the job. To top it all off, Ussop, who is carrying the cash, gets mugged. The culprit, a member of the Frankie family, bounty hunters and ship scavengers who live on the fringes of society in Water 7. While Ussop is being robbed, Robin disappears with a masked figure. The Straw Hats attack the Frankie family stronghold for taking their money and beating up Ussop. Once the Straw Hats regroup on the merry-go, Luffy makes the captain's choice, that this will be Mary's final stop. They're purchasing a new vessel. The decision creates a rift between Ussop and the crew. Our long-nosed friend decides this will be his last stop as well. He's staying with the Mary and leaving the Straw Hats. Robin and the masked figure reappear at the mayor of Water 7's mansion, aided by even more masked figures. It's revealed that they're the world government's elite covert ops team, CP9. They came to Water 7 in search of the Pluton blueprints. A chance to check in on Nico Robin is an added bonus. Amidst the chaos, Water 7's regularly occurring tsunami Aqua Laguna begins. CP9 escapes to their HQ with Nico, Robin, and Frankie on Eni's lobby via the Puffing Tom Sea Train. The united forces of the Straw Hats, Frankie family, a few Galila shipwrights, and Ussop, I mean Sniper King of Sniper Island, give chase using another sea train called the Rocket Man. No relation to Elton John. Despite the Straw Hats' efforts, CP9 reaches Eni's lobby. Now it's just up to the Straw Hats to invade the government-run island. They do, and Luffy goes on a rampage, defeating hundreds of Marines stationed there. After some combat, the remaining Straw Hat pirates and the masked Sniper King find themselves facing down CP9. Robin explains her backstory to the crew. Saving her means taking on the entire world. Luffy doesn't care, ordering Sniper King to shoot down the world government's flag, declaring war on the whole world. Frankie reveals he's had the blueprints to Pluton this whole time, right in his abs. He takes them out, turning them to ash right before Spandam, the leader of CP9's eyes. Enraged, Spandam flees with Robin to officially apprehend her at Marine Ford. Along the way, he accidentally presses the button to summon a Buster Call, the very attack that left Robin's home country in ruins. Luffy has an arduous battle against CP9's Rob Lucci, but he's able to come out on top using his newly minted abilities. Gear Second, which allows him to move at increased speeds and hit with an incredible power, and Gear Third, which increases his body mass immensely whilst increasing the strength. The Straw Hats are able to retrieve Robin and Frankie. Although they should be taking their victory lap at this point, the Straw Hats are exhausted and cornered by the Marines. With nowhere left to go, they hear a disembodied voice, beckoning them to jump into the sea. They do it. Waiting for them is none other than the merry-go. She's felt so much love from the crew over their journey, she develops sentience. It's clear that the Mary won't last past the journey back to Water 7 as she begins to break down. The Straw Hats give Mary a goodbye, giving her a Viking funeral as they all shed tears and share the memories made with the Mary. As they recuperate in Water 7, the Straw Hats are visited by Luffy's grandfather, Garp. He's arrived to deliver hefty helping of exposition about threats the crew will face in the New World, as well as Luffy's father, Dragon. Garp is accompanied by his two wards, Kobe and Helmeppo. Both have undergone massive growth spurts while under Garp's care. Construction of the Straw Hats' new ship begins. It's being built using special atom wood that Frankie purchased with those stolen funds. On the other side of the world, Ace catches up to Blackbeard. They have a dazzling confrontation on Banaro Island, and Blackbeard eventually bests Ace, turning him into the Marines in exchange for 7 warlord status. And they accept. At the same time, Shanks personally seeks an audience with Whitebeard to warn him about Blackbeard so he can recall Ace. Too late, buddy. The Straw Hats depart Water 7 on their brand spanking new vessel, the Thousand Sunny. Along with the new ship, they also have a new companion, Frankie. With a bounty on his head, Frankie decides the pirating life is for him and joins the crew. Everyone else has new bounties as well. Luffy's has risen to 300 million, and Zoro's has risen to 120 million. Robin is at 80,000. So they're certified pirates. Meanwhile, Chopper, Ussop, Nami, and Sanji have gotten their first bounties. And Sanji's pissed that he doesn't look hotter on his bounty poster. The crew's next goal is Fishman Island, which has an underwater path to the New World. They go on a detour at the Florian Triangle, where they meet the talking skeleton musician, Brook, the sole survivor of Laboon's crew. Remember Laboon? Luffy invites Brook to join the crew. He refuses, stating that the warlord Gecko Moria has captured his shadow and he can't exist in sunlight without it. Thus, the crew heads to Moria's ship Thriller Bark to retrieve it. While there, they meet all sorts of zombie legends like Oars, Captain John, and Ryuma. Zoro goes blade to blade with Ryuma, resulting in Zoro earning the deceased samurai's respect and his legendary blade, Shusui. The Straw Hats make it through Thriller Bark safely. As they're departing the island, Zoro meets the Warlord of the Sea, Bartholomew Kuma, who came to Thriller Bark as a messenger for the world government. He's there to spread word of the new Warlord of the Sea, Blackbeard, to Gecko Moria. Kuma tells Zoro that he plans to destroy the Straw Hats as he was ordered to annihilate Thriller Bark. Zoro stops this from happening by showing Kuma his absolute dedication to his captain. The crew departs Thriller Bark with their newly freed friend Brook. On the way to Fishman Island, they run into two actual fishmen, Kami and Papaga, who need assistance in rescuing their friend from the slave trading group, the Rosy Fish Riders. Upon attacking the group, the crew finds two shocking reveals. Kami's captured friend is none other than Hachi from Arlong's crew, and the Rosy Fish Rider leader's face looks exactly like Sanji's wanted poster. Duval, Sanji's unfortunate doppelganger, is also aware of this similarity. Marines have been hot on his tail since the unveiling of Sanji's poster, making his life a living hell. Sanji has a fix for this little dilemma. In a moment that would make handsome Squidward proud, Sanji kicks Duval's face hard enough to change the actual bone structure, thus making him handsome. Following his facial reconstruction, Duval has a change of heart. He frees Hachi and pledges loyalty to Sanji. Remember to always thank people that make you feel like a stud. The crew and their new pals head over to Sabaody Archipelago. By pure chance, 11 rookies with bounties worth over 100 million berries are also on the island. What are the odds? Luffy and friends explore Sabaody's local theme park, Sabaody Park. Kami is kidnapped while waiting for a ride. She's taken to the auction house to be sold to the highest bidder. Young mermaids like her fetch a high price. The Straw Hats arrive with cash in hand, but they're outbid by Celestial Dragon, who wants the mermaid for his own pleasure. Luffy, the last to arrive, sees the purchase being made and decides the best course of action is to punch the buyer in the face. I can't really argue with that. But his actions inadvertently cause a fiasco. The Celestial Dragons are brutal despots and they bring all their firepower down on Luffy. This brings Admiral Kizaru, Kuma, Sentomaru, and multiple robot clones of Kuma called Pacifista to the island. While those folks are still in transit to the island, Luffy meets a surprise guest among the people being auctioned. Gold D. Rogers' right-hand man, Silver's Rayleigh. Rayleigh gets the situation under control by knocking everybody out through sheer willpower. By sheer willpower, I mean haki, of course. Yep, we've reached the stage in every shonen's life cycle where a whole nother level of power is unlocked. In this case, it's haki, which is essentially the manifestation of the wielder's will. After leaving the auction house, Rayleigh tells the Straw Hats about his tenure as Roger's first mate. Afterward, he offers to give the Thousand Sunny a special coating, which would provide the Straw Hats passage to Fishman Island. All he needs for the task is 3 days. Meanwhile, the world government announces that Ace will be publicly executed for his crimes. Predicting that the Whitebeard pirates will attempt to rescue Ace, the Marines begin to gather forces at their headquarters, Marineford. The forces summoned by the Celestial Dragon arrive, and they're gunning for the Straw Hats. Amidst the battle, Kuma whispers in Rayleigh's ear, "I work for the Revolutionary Army. Since we have a connection, I want to help this group." Not the best pillow talk, but it'll do. Despite their best efforts and the assistance of Rayleigh, the Straw Hat pirates are defeated. Rather than killing them, Kuma separates the crew, sending each one to a different island. Most importantly, Luffy lands on Amazon Lily, the island of women. Initially, he's mistaken for a very flat-chested young woman with a mushroom-spreading illness. Of course, that mushroom is just his dick, but these gals have never met a man before, so who can blame him? The island's leader, one of the 7 warlords and woman of the world, Boa Hancock, returns to the island. Upon encountering Luffy, she sentences him to death by combat against her 2 sisters. Despite the challenge, Luffy emerges victorious, even earning Hancock's trust. In fact, he earned a bit more than trust. Hancock has become smitten with Luffy. Can I just comment on the fact that the name is Hancock? Luffy finally learns of the Marines' plan to execute Ace. He requests Hancock's help in saving his brother before the execution day. Luffy and Hancock depart for the Marine prison Impel Down the next day. The pair arrives at Impel Down, Ace is being held on the penitentiary's 6th floor, so Luffy has to make his way through 5 other floors to reach him. Along the way, he runs into many familiar faces from his rogues gallery like Buggy the Clown and Baroque Works Mr. 3, who now goes by Galadino. Mr. 2 is there as well. They assist Luffy on his mission in hopes that he'll secure their escape from the prison. Eventually, Luffy nearly dies at the hands of the warden Magellan and his deadly poison. This would have been fatal if not for the assistance of his father's associate, Ivankov, who injected life-saving hormones into Luffy. Ivankov's group, the New Kama, joined Luffy on his mission to rescue Ace. They continue down Impel Down's levels. Ace is taken out of his cell and prepared for departure. Meanwhile, using his status, Blackbeard enters Impel Down, plotting to recruit the dangerous level 6 prisoners. Luffy reaches Ace's empty cell. Learning that he just missed Ace, Luffy has to rush back upstairs, but he won't do so without gaining 2 new allies, former warlord Crocodile and Jinbe. Along the way back, he meets Blackbeard for the first time since Jaya. They briefly clash, then continue their separate ways. Blackbeard reaches level 6 of the prison and recruits the prisoners held there. Ace reaches the execution platform just as the Whitebeard pirates begin their raid on Marineford to rescue Ace. Luffy and company leave the prison, commandeering marine battleships for their voyage. They arrive in the middle of the battle. Luffy rushes to Ace and actually manages to free him from his shackles. They share a really sweet moment. Alas, it wasn't meant to be. Ace jumps into the fray, protecting Luffy from an attack from Admiral Akainu. The attack pierces his chest, providing a fatal blow. Luffy is paralyzed by shock. His body is carried to the docks by a few allies. With Ace dead, a heavily injured Whitebeard attacks Akainu. He nearly kills him too. Blackbeard appears and deals the final blow to Whitebeard. After felling the Emperor, Blackbeard places Whitebeard's corpse behind a special curtain, which somehow transfers Whitebeard's devil fruit to Blackbeard.
Well, you got me. By all accounts, it doesn't make sense.
He becomes the only person in the world to have 2 devil fruits. Trafalgar Law arrives at Marineford to rescue Luffy. He does so, but not without a little trouble from Akainu, who unsuccessfully attempts to finish Luffy off. However, he does leave an X-shaped scar. Before the war can continue, Shanks, another of the 4 emperors, appears and requests for both sides to stop fighting. He succeeds. Trafalgar Law takes Luffy to Amazon Lily where he can get some R&R. When he awakes, Luffy is overcome with sorrow from having lost Ace. He stabilizes after being reminded that he still has close companions in his crew, the Straw Hat Pirates. Rayleigh arrives at Amazon Lily and offers Luffy a chance to train with him for 2 years. He promises to teach him the basics of hockey in that time. Before training can begin, Luffy briefly returns to Marineford so he can make a very public action, subtly leaving a message for his crew that they'll reunite in 2 years' time on the Sabaody archipelago. Luffy begins studying under Rayleigh on Rusukaina, an island near Amazon Lily. He places his signature hat on a rock, as Straw Hat Luffy is going on a break for the next 2 years. He'll return way stronger than before. How are the rest of the Straw Hats faring? Nami was sent to Witheria, a floating island populated by old, crotchety meteorologists. Ussop goes to Boyne Archipelago, a paradise full of useful plants. He trains with Hercules there and develops some useful technology. Robin joins Luffy's dad, Dragon, to work with the Revolutionary Army. Chopper goes to Torino Island, where he studies medicine. Zoro asks his old buddy Mihawk to train him on Kuraigana Island. Frankie finds himself in Dr. Vegapunk's abandoned lab, and he takes advantage of the facilities to make improvements to his cyborg bod. And last but not least, Brook gains international fame as a rock star known as the Soul King. It wouldn't be a proper time skip if everyone didn't come back with more tech, more powers, and more boobs. Oda, I expected no less of you. There's a heck of a lot more One Piece to cover, clearly. So we'll be coming back with the rest of this timeline after the crew spends a little more time in Wano. I'm Crystal Marie, thanks for watching. This has been GetintheRobot made in New York City because we can't move to Japan. And I promise to return to this channel stronger, better, and with bigger power of analysis than before. All right, see you then.